Screams shattered the quiet Saturday afternoon at Westfield Mall as a pregnant woman stumbled out of Glamour Beauty Salon, face covered in an unknown substance, gasping for breath. The bustling weekend crowd froze as Sarah Miller, 7 months pregnant, collapsed onto a bench outside the salon. Her face and hair were covered with a clear, viscous liquid that seemed to be hardening rapidly. Red welts emerged across her skin as she struggled to breathe, one hand clutching her swollen belly protectively. "Someone help her." A teenage girl shouted while mall security rushed forward, walkie-talkies crackling with urgency. The security guard reached Sarah, but immediately pulled back his hand after touching the substance. "I don't know what this is," he admitted, looking around helplessly. "We need medical assistance." Shoppers gathered, smartphones recording the scene, but nobody seemed to know what to do. The mall's medical response team was occupied with another incident across the complex, and their emergency medical kit wasn't designed for chemical exposures. The security supervisor radioed that paramedics were at least 15 minutes away due to multiple highway accidents. Among the onlookers stood Thomas Reynolds, a 68-year-old man with steel gray hair and ramrod-straight posture despite his age. He had been shopping for his granddaughter's birthday present when the commotion began. His weathered face tightened as he assessed the situation, eyes narrowing with professional interest rather than morbid curiosity. Thomas moved forward with purposeful strides while others backed away. The mall security tried to establish a perimeter, but they were clearly out of their depth. What most bystanders didn't know was that Thomas wasn't just another retiree. He was a former Army combat medic with 25 years of service, including tours in Iraq and Afghanistan where he treated chemical weapon injuries. Thomas approached the security guard. "I'm a retired combat medic. Let me help." His voice carried the quiet authority that came from decades of battlefield triage. Without waiting for permission, he knelt beside Sarah, carefully examining the substance without touching it. "Ma'am, I'm Thomas. I have medical training." "Can you tell me what happened?" he asked, noting her dilated pupils and increasingly labored breathing. The rapid pulse visible at her neck concerned him most. "My ex, James," Sarah gasped between ragged breaths. "He threw something, said if he couldn't have me." She broke into a coughing fit. Thomas recognized a distinct almond smell and the reaction pattern on her skin. "This isn't ordinary glue," he announced to the security team. "It's an industrial-grade adhesive, likely methyl cyanoacrylate with additives. It's causing an allergic reaction and chemical burns." He'd seen similar compounds used in improvised devices overseas, and the knowledge sent a chill down his spine. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Sarah's face was swelling, her breathing becoming more strained. "Anaphylaxis is starting," Thomas muttered, mentally calculating how much time they had before her airway closed completely. A new commotion erupted from the salon. Through the glass storefront, Thomas spotted a man in his mid-30s brandishing what appeared to be a knife. 3 salon employees and 2 customers were backed against the wall, terror evident on their faces. "That's him, James," Sarah whispered, gripping Thomas's arm. The security supervisor approached. "Police are coming, but they've got multiple incidents across town. ETA unknown." Thomas quickly assessed his options. The woman needed immediate medical attention, but the ongoing hostage situation complicated matters. James was shouting something about finishing what he started and waving a chemical bottle alongside the knife. "We need a tactical combat casualty care approach," Thomas thought, reverting to his military training. "Treat under fire, then field care." He glanced around, conducting a rapid resource inventory. The mall pharmacy was 50 yards away. The food court might have supplies he could repurpose. His own pockets contained a veteran's medical kit, nothing fancy, but it included antihistamine tablets, a compression bandage, and disposable gloves. Thomas's mind flashed back to Fallujah, 2007. A similar situation, multiple casualties, chemical agent, hostile combatants still active. Then, he had a full medical team. Today, he was alone. "I need volunteers," he announced with calm authority. "You," he pointed to a young man nearby. "Run to the pharmacy. Tell them we need liquid diphenhydramine, sterile water, sodium bicarbonate solution, and burn dressings. Tell them it's a chemical emergency. Two college-age girls stepped forward. What can we do? Create privacy. Use those shopping bags to block onlookers. And find clean water, bottled or otherwise. As his makeshift team mobilized, Thomas maintained his focus on Sarah while keeping one eye on the salon standoff. The security team was attempting to communicate with James, but the situation was escalating. I'm going to help you and those people inside, Thomas promised Sarah quietly. Military doesn't leave anyone behind. He knew the next few minutes would demand every bit of his training and experience. Thomas's mind flashed to his CBRN training. Chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear defense at Fort Sam Houston decades ago. Major Williams' voice echoed in his memory. Identify, assess, stabilize, evacuate. You'll never have perfect conditions or complete resources. Adapt. The volunteer returned from the pharmacy, breathless but successful. Thomas quickly organized the supplies on a clean food court tray, creating a makeshift medical station. I'm going to neutralize the chemical first, then treat the allergic reaction, he explained to Sarah, his calm voice a stark contrast to the chaos around them. Thomas mixed the sodium bicarbonate with sterile water. This will neutralize the acid component, he explained to the security supervisor, who was recording his actions for the incoming medical team. Industrial adhesives like this have an acidic pH that continues to damage tissue until neutralized. With practiced efficiency, Thomas donned gloves and began gently applying the solution to Sarah's affected skin using sterile gauze. In Baghdad, we have specialized decontamination equipment, he told her, maintaining conversation to assess her consciousness level and provide comfort. But the principle remains the same. Change the chemical environment to halt the reaction. Meanwhile, the security team reported that James was becoming increasingly agitated inside the salon. He had barricaded the entrance and was threatening to make everyone feel what Sarah feels by exposing them to more chemicals. Thomas administered liquid antihistamine to Sarah while continuing to monitor her breathing. Her airway was compromised but still functional. In the field, I'd perform a cricothyroidotomy if necessary, he told the security supervisor quietly. Let's hope it doesn't come to that before paramedics arrive. Once Sarah was stabilized, Thomas turned his attention to the salon situation. He organized bystanders into a functional team with military precision. You three maintain her position and continue applying the neutralizing solution every 2 minutes. He pointed to a former lifeguard who had identified himself. Monitor her pulse and breathing. If either changes, call me immediately. Thomas approached the security supervisor. I need to know the salon layout and available exits. Using a napkin, Thomas sketched a quick tactical assessment. He's positioned himself here, with hostages clustered there. Classic control pattern. I've seen this in hostage situations in Afghanistan. He pointed to the service corridor. Is there access through here? The supervisor confirmed there was. He's displaying signs of desperation, not calculated violence. Thomas analyzed. This is personal for him, emotionally driven. That makes him dangerous, but potentially approachable through the right psychological tactics. Thomas borrowed the supervisor's radio. I'm going to establish communication while accessing through the service corridor. Keep his attention focused on the main entrance. Before proceeding, Thomas returned to check on Sarah. Her breathing had improved slightly, the antihistamine taking effect. I'm going to help the others now, he told her. The medical team will be here soon. Sarah grabbed his hand. Be careful. He has chemistry background, works at a manufacturing plant. This new information heightened Thomas's concern. James wasn't just emotionally unstable. He had professional knowledge of chemicals. Thomas moved through the service corridor with the quiet discipline of a combat veteran. Inside his pocket was a small spray bottle he'd prepared with a concentrated sodium bicarbonate solution, a makeshift chemical neutralizer. In Kandahar, we had a full tactical team, he thought. Today, it's just me and basic chemistry. Reaching the back entrance of the salon, Thomas assessed the situation through a small window. James was pacing, knife in one hand, chemical bottle in the other. The hostages were huddled together, one woman silently crying. Thomas radioed the security team. I'm implementing a modified talk tree transport protocol. he said, using military terminology. Engage verbally from the front while I prepare emergency extraction from the rear. He prepared the salon's eye washing station, typically used for shampoo accidents, as a potential emergency decontamination point. Taking a deep breath, Thomas centered himself, drawing on the calm focus that had carried him through firefights and mass casualty events. He had positioned emergency supplies at strategic points, established a medical treatment area, and prepared for multiple contingencies. Going in, he radioed quietly, slipping through the door with the controlled movements of someone who had breached hostile environments many times before. The skills that had saved lives on battlefields halfway around the world were now focused on a small beauty salon in suburban America. Thomas entered the salon's back area silently, positioning himself behind a supply shelf where he could observe without being immediately noticed. James was becoming increasingly erratic, his movements jerky as he paced between the terrified hostages. Everyone's going to understand what it feels like to be burned and rejected, James shouted, unscrewing the cap from the chemical bottle. The sharp odor confirmed Thomas's suspicion. This was the same industrial adhesive used on Sarah, but in a much larger quantity. Thomas knew he had seconds to act before James exposed everyone to the chemical. Drawing on techniques learned during hostage negotiation training at Fort Bragg, he stepped into view, hands empty and visible. "James," he called calmly, his voice projecting confidence without aggression. "I'm Thomas Reynolds. I'm not police, not security. I'm a medic who's been helping Sarah." James spun around, knife extended. "Stay back. I don't care who you are." "Sarah and your baby are going to be okay," Thomas continued, using the deliberate pacing he'd employed when talking down traumatized soldiers. "I neutralized the chemical before permanent damage occurred." Confusion flickered across James's face. "You're lying. That's impossible. I served as a combat medic for 25 years. Treated chemical exposures in Iraq and Afghanistan." Thomas took a measured step forward. The sodium bicarbonate solution counteracts the adhesive's acidic components. The scientific explanation seemed to reach something in James, perhaps the rational part of his chemist's mind. His grip on the bottle wavered slightly. Thomas maintained eye contact while subtly positioning himself between James and the hostages. "Right now, you're looking at assault charges. If you expose these people, that becomes attempted murder. You're not a murderer, James." The standoff teetered on a knife's edge. Thomas was acutely aware of the chemical bottle's precarious position in James's trembling hand. One wrong move could send it crashing to the floor, releasing its contents. Suddenly, James's expression twisted with renewed rage. "She left me? 7 years together, and she just throws it away." He lurched forward, bottle extended threateningly. Thomas reacted with the speed of muscle memory, stepping into the movement rather than away from it, a counterintuitive technique from close-quarters combat training. His left hand deflected the arm holding the knife, while his right secured the chemical bottle. The momentum carried both men to the floor. Thomas positioned himself to absorb the impact, protecting the bottle from rupturing. A sharp pain lanced through his shoulder as he felt the knife nick his upper arm. Using a controlled technique taught to military police, Thomas quickly immobilized James's weapon hand against the floor. The knife clattered away as James struggled beneath the older but surprisingly strong veteran. "It's over, son," Thomas said firmly but without malice. Two male stylists rushed forward to help restrain James while Thomas secured the chemical bottle, capping it tightly. As security personnel flooded in, Thomas turned his attention to the hostages. Anyone feeling burning sensations? Difficulty breathing? Skin irritation? His battlefield assessment was rapid and thorough. One woman had received minor splashes on her arm when James had first entered. Thomas quickly led her to the eye washing station he'd prepared, demonstrating how to properly rinse the affected area. "You knew exactly what to do," she said, hands still shaking. "How did you know he wouldn't just kill you?" Thomas applied a clean towel to his bleeding arm. Threat assessment. His body language showed hesitation despite his words. In combat zones, you learn to read the difference between someone who wants to hurt others and someone who's hurting themselves. As police officers took James into custody, Thomas surveyed the salon with the practiced eye of someone who had witnessed countless crisis aftermaths. No casualties. Crisis contained. Mission accomplished. The mall corridor had transformed into an emergency response area by the time Thomas emerged from the salon. Paramedics were attending to Sarah, and fort already established. Police officers were taking statements from witnesses, while mall security maintained a perimeter. Thomas approached the lead paramedic, delivering a concise status report. Pregnant female, approximately 30 weeks gestation, exposed to methylcyanoacrylate adhesive with possible chemical accelerants. Patient experienced anaphylaxis, treated with diphenhydramine. Chemical neutralize with sodium bicarbonate solution. Vital signs were stabilizing when I left to address the secondary situation. The paramedic looked impressed. That's the most professional handoff I've gotten from a civilian. Military medicine? Army, 25 years, Thomas confirmed simply. As the situation de-escalated, a local news crew pushed forward, cameras rolling. Sir, you single-handedly saved a pregnant woman and stopped a hostage situation. How does it feel to be a hero? Thomas stepped away from the microphone. Just did what I was trained to do. The first responders are the real professionals here. Despite his deflection, bystander videos were already circulating on social media. Veteran saves a day, and military training prevents tragedy. Headlines were spreading rapidly across local news sites. Mall management approached with profound gratitude. Mr. Reynolds, we can't thank you enough. Your intervention saved lives today. Thomas nodded acknowledgement. The bandage on his arm a reminder of how close things had been. Military teaches us to run toward problems, not away from them. Old habits. A month later, Thomas received an invitation from Sarah and her husband. Their healthy baby boy had been born, and they wanted him to attend a small naming ceremony. When he arrived at their modest home, Sarah embraced him with tears in her eyes. "We named him Thomas," she said, "after the man who saved us both." The elderly veteran stood straighter, emotion briefly cracking his composed exterior. "I'm deeply honored," he said quietly, as he watched the newborn sleeping peacefully. Thomas reflected on how his military skills had found purpose long after leaving active service. The training that had once saved lives in war zones continued to protect the innocent in shopping malls and beauty salons across America. Once a medic, always a medic, he thought, a reminder that some missions never truly end. If this story touched you, please share in the comments where you've witnessed veterans making a difference in your community. Their training and courage continue to serve us all long after the uniform comes off.